And now I would like to invite our second speaker onto the stage, Sheninger. He is a senior fellow and thought leader on digital leadership with the International Center for Leadership in Education. And before that, he was the award-winning principal at New Milford High School, where under his leadership, the school has become a globally known model for innovative practices. There, and since then, his passionate work has inspired transformation of school culture across the globe. And we are very lucky to have him here. And now he's going to give us some insight to 8 keys of developing the school of the future today. So the stage is yours, Eric. Thank you very much.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Let's try that again. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I hope you're excited to be here. Now, we got probably about 29 minutes now, so I got a lot of slides. But I have a digital handout for you, so no worries. You'll get that at the end. I'm going to give you sort of the summarized version of, looking at research, looking at practicality. I love this session before because we're going to talk a lot about pedagogy. So as we think about where we are, I want you to think about where you want to be. Now, quick story for me. I was a principal in New Jersey in the United States, and I didn't believe in any of this. I wrote the policies to block social media. I ran around taking devices from kids. My mindset was fixed. 2 things helped me change. Number 1, a student told me school was like a jail. We can't improve outcomes, everybody, if kids don't value their learning culture. Number 2, I got on Twitter. Probably the dumbest thing you'll hear a speaker say is, I attribute a lot of my change to getting on social media. Not the tool itself, but how social media exposed me to new ideas, new ways of thinking, and possibilities of what we could do in a public school to get unprecedented results. Make no mistake about it, I'm only up here today because we improved achievement with and without the use of technology. So as we think about technology and we think about the future is here, everyone. Change is not coming. It is already on our doorstep. And we are seeing so many technologies. And that's the key. So many technologies at the same time. And because we're seeing all this change, what's happening is a lot of disruption. And as we think about disruption and we think about where we are and we think about what we have access to now, we can look at disruption in terms of spurring innovation. Now, innovation, everybody wants to innovate. It's great. But the key to disruption is not just a willingness to innovate, has it changed the way we learn? And how does that change in learning actually lead to improved outcomes? Outcomes in terms of teaching, learning, and leadership. Now, there are many examples that I could share about disruptive forces at play. When we look at things like, I've been here, I think I've taken 5 Ubers since I've been here in Berlin. But Uber, new idea, better idea, but they have the results to back it up. When you think about it, 8 million rides a day, available in 70-plus countries. And what's happening is Uber is disrupting the taxi industry. Another example, Airbnb. I mean, now, I know I'm in Germany right now, and different type of football, but American football, the Super Bowl, was in my hometown of Houston, Texas a few years ago. Guess how much I was able to put my house for up online on Airbnb per night? $5,000 American per night. I could have made $15,000, but my wife didn't want strangers sleeping in our house. But that's another story. But as we think about all this change, look at this. This is how long it took to get 100 million people on technologies. The telephone, 75 years. The mobile phone, 16 years. The web, 7 years. Instagram, 2 years, 4 months. And I can't believe some of you still play Candy Crush. And don't tell me you don't. I watch you in airports. But do you know what got to 100 million users faster than Candy Crush? Don't say Fortnite. Maybe it is. It was Pokemon Go. Now, maybe you don't know what Pokemon Go was, but you probably saw your kids playing it, and it kind of looked something like this. Groups of kids outside, collaborating, communicating, exercising. So as we think about all this change, all these disrupted forces, we have Facebook, we have Uber, we have Airbnb, and I'm going to have to replace Netflix with Disney Plus, because Disney Plus is just changing the game. They changed the way they learned, and they were willing to innovate. So as we think about all this change, we think about 11 plus years ago, most of these companies did not exist. And now they're all worth over $1 billion. $1 billion. So as we think about this, this all comes back to education. How are we changing? How is teaching, learning, and leadership changing to prepare our kids to survive and thrive in a world that is very difficult to predict? So as we think about skills, this will have to be updated soon. But from the World Economic Forum, in less than, well, a little over a month, we're going to be in 2020. This is what the World Economic Forum deemed as the changes from 2015 to 2020. Look at how creativity has gone from 10 to 3. We've seen critical thinking go from 4 to 2. Complex problem solving still number 1. But look at those new ones. Cognitive flexibility, emotional intelligence. How are these skills leading to competencies in learners in your schools, in your countries? So as we think about all this, how can we prepare our kids to do what technology can't do yet? And I say yet, because we see a lot of things I never thought I could sit in the backyard of my house, yell out to Alexa, and Alexa would play my favorite 80 songs. So as we think about all this change, how are we preparing kids with what truly matters? So as we think about all this, if we want to prepare kids for the world of work tomorrow, we have to transform their learning today. And that will look different depending on where we live, depending on socioeconomic conditions. But the key is, if we continue to do what we've always done, we'll continue to get what we've always gotten. The most dangerous phrase in education, that's the way we've always done it. It is. And that's what plagued my school. So as we think about how do we go about doing this? Well, my co-author and I looked at over 75 research studies. I have 30 minutes. I can't go over all that. But there's a lot of stuff digitally and in the book that you can look at. We looked at over 75 studies to see what were the schools that were truly innovating and getting results. What were they doing? Where was that continuity? So we're going to start really quick with leadership and culture and work our way all up to number 8. Because here's the thing, everybody. The first 7 don't matter if it doesn't become scalable and if it doesn't become sustainable. That's the key to change. It's not about isolated pockets of excellence, which all schools have. How do we scale it so every learner benefits? So let's start with number 1, and let's talk quickly about leadership and culture and how that lays the foundation. And leadership is not about power, position, or title. Leadership is about action. The biggest leaders in my school were my teachers. They were the ones on the front lines. It wasn't what I did as a principal. But here's the thing, as individual levels, we can't focus on the yeah buts. The yeah buts hold us back. We need to focus on the what ifs. And the magic happens when you get outside your comfort zone, because comfort is the enemy of growth. And as we think about why we're comfortable, status quo, well, it's always worked. We have to question, is it actually working? And when we think about leadership, you can't just want change. You need to lead the change. Yeah, everybody says they want change, everybody. But who actually wants to change? And who wants to lead the change? As I work with adults all the time, I read body language. I look to see if they're exhibiting off-task behaviors, and I can learn in a few seconds who is the most fearful of change. But as we think about how we lead change in almost 2020 and beyond, here's what the research says. The best leaders are the best learners. Learning is the fuel of leadership. The best leaders empower others to take risks. They empower through autonomy. They empower through support. The best leaders adapt. And as you saw in the opening plenary today, we have to adapt. The best leaders delegate because it's not a one-woman or one-man show. It's about building capacity in others. The best leaders engage. There is nothing more powerful than face-to-face, body language, but the best leaders meet their stakeholders where they're at in digital spaces and engage in two-way communication. The best leaders reflect. John Dewey said, we don't learn from experience, we learn when we reflect on experience. And the best leaders serve. In terms of education, who do we serve? We serve kids. We heard a lot about pedagogy before. How do we make learning personal? Now, I'm not talking about personalized. Putting every kid in front of a device and having to do the same thing at the same time is not personalization, everybody. Let's look at the root word, personal. And as we think about personal, here's why we do what we do. Every single kid has greatness hidden inside him or her. It's the job of an educator to help them find and unleash that greatness. No matter what our role is in education, here's the end game, everybody. The end game is our kids. And we have to ask ourselves, are we meeting their needs? Now, it is hard to unleash the greatness of kids if this is what they experience in school.
So today I'm going to share with you the most important, most significant, most profound lecture and the reasons that we do what we do.
Okay. So, hey, did we experience some of that? Yeah. And don't think it's not happening now. This year alone, I've done 1,000+ classroom visits in the United States. 1,000+. And I'm still seeing majority traditional pedagogies. It's not what we focus on. What's on the test? What's in the curriculum? What kids need for graduation? They don't care about that. Ask your kids. They want to know why. Why is this important? How will I use it? And what criteria will tell me at a personal level whether or not I am successful? The key to success, everyone, is not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. It's acknowledging what has worked, but also what's not working. And when we look at pedagogy, when I think about what we accomplished, here was our secret. We had no common vision, no common language, no common expectations. And when we were the first school in my state of New Jersey to go bring your own device 10 years ago, we failed because we didn't really focus on the hard work of improving pedagogy. Keep it simple, stupid. Are kids thinking? How are they applying their thinking? If we just add on tools, words, we're not going to change anything. People want focus. They want to know what's manageable. And for my teachers, when I introduced the SAMR model many years ago, they're like, what does that tell us about learning? Not much. That's why we went to this rigor relevance framework. We wanted our kids to think, but we wanted to apply their thinking in meaningful ways. And when you think about the horizontal axis here, what is that all about? That is about authenticity. That is about this. If a lesson is relevant, your kids will be able to tell you why they're learning it, how they will use it outside of school, and what they learned. I have a son who's in grade 9 and a daughter who's in grade 7. They achieve, but they're both bored. And they are in the highest performing school district now in the state of Texas. They achieve. But guess what? It's not good enough. My kids don't talk about learning. They don't have that passion. That's a challenge. Learning has to be relevant. This is the personal piece. And when we think about personal, yes, we want kids to see that relevance, but we also want kids to understand that learning can be fun and meaningful and get them to think. Kids want learning that's interactive. They want to explore, design, create. These are at the upper levels of knowledge taxonomy, everyone. What does this look like? Here's some middle grade kids in the state of South Carolina. What's their problem? They're creating prosthetic limbs for kids across the world who don't have real limbs. A real world problem. This is at the upper level of knowledge taxonomy, everyone. And what they have to do to synthesize, evaluate, create, when it's all said and done, they print, assemble, ship. But you know what? You talk about technology, you can't do this without the human element. The teacher is the essential key. But when we think about learning, and we think about what kids are going to remember in a personal experience, it's not the grade, everybody, it's the experience. You want to see what real learning looks like? High-level thinking, high-level application? Here it is. Kids created that. Kids will remember it. Here's my point. It's not technology here. Curriculum, instruction, and assessment here, everybody. It's about learning. Why did this framework work for us? Because we made it about learning, and we just started here. Where was our level of questioning? Where was the level of the task the kids were engaged in? How did student work change? How did assessment change? How did professional learning change? How did observation evaluation change? If all those things aren't changing, can we really say that we're innovating and getting the results that we want? What you just saw in that last image was what we call quad D learning. You saw kids do almost all of that. It's not that kids don't want to think, ladies and gentlemen. We got to create the conditions where we empower them to think. We have to rethink assessment. We have to rethink feedback. And we also have to rethink, why do kids have to do the same thing, the same time, the same way? Personalization, voice, choice, path, pace, place. Bless you. The idea here is, don't prepare kids for something. Prepare them for anything. How do you future-proof learning? How do you future-proof education? You get your kids to think. That's the key. And we could talk all day. Does a grade really tell you whether a kid is thinking or not? Or maybe that they're just good at complying. So as we think about all this, and as I go through these other ones really fast, because number 2 is the most important, let's talk about innovation and let's talk about results. You know, I can show you news lines from OECD. This was in one of our papers. Oh my goodness, technology does not improve results. Okay, that's all out there. You know, and we've invested so much. By the way, my country, not a good honor. We are number 1 on this list. We spend the most on technology and have little to show for it. The researchers said it's not that technology can't improve results. It's that technology changes, which means teaching, learning, and leadership have to change. Linda Darling-Hammond out of Stanford University, her team found that technology impacts the kids who need it the most, our at-risk learners. When it's interactive, use of tech to explore and create rather than drill and kill, and look at this, you need the teachers. So as we think about all this, and we think about what we want for our kids, you know, the key is outcomes matter. Outcomes matter, qualitative and quantitative. Here's how outcomes matter.
Beat the freeze. They give the contestant a head start, and then watch this guy in the freeze suit.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Watch this, folks.
I mean, the guy had what, a 200-foot head start?
At least.
Look at this guy go.
This guy is beautiful. Look at this guy.
The guy he thought he was...
Outcomes matter, everyone. And here's the thing. This is what I want you to think about. I'm not anti-tech. I'm not anti-PD. But you want to know something? We need to take a critical lens. We need to take a critical lens to technology, programs, professional development, and innovative ideas. We do. That's when change really takes hold, and we make smart investments. We hold ourselves accountable because we want our investments to actually lead to improved outcomes. So I want you to think about, in your respective country, cities, schools, what evidence do you have? What evidence will you show beyond standardized test scores? I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying that's one. And I'll show you a few examples as I wrap this up in a few minutes. Let's talk about learning spaces. Would you want to learn in the same classrooms as every single one of the students in your country? Would you want to learn under the same conditions as every single student? When I got in classrooms more, I'm like, heck no. Why are we doing this to kids? If you take a class from 1919 and you superimpose it, oh my goodness, how much has really changed? I don't know. I have never visited your schools, but I can tell you, United States, we still see desks in rows a lot, and they're not very comfortable. So my co-author was driving around the state of Pennsylvania, and he saw a cemetery. Don't worry, it's not a morbid example. And he's like, oh my goodness, the arrangement looks like a typical classroom. Oh, but don't worry, everyone. When we're innovative, we put tennis balls on the bottom of the chairs. We have an interactive whiteboard in the front. We have the teacher's desk. And then, we usually flag. And in Texas, we salute the Texas flag. That's not innovative. And what's not innovative is when the interactive whiteboard is only used by the teacher. How is it being used by kids, everybody? So as we think about this, research has shown classroom design can impact learning by as much as 25%. Everything from furniture, layout, color, temperature, acoustics, lighting. All of this. That's why I ask you, how have your spaces changed? And as we think about this, and we looked at 10 different studies in the book. This was one that we want to highlight it. But here's what it comes down to. If kids don't want to learn in their classrooms, well, what are we doing about it? My school was built in 1928. It didn't stop us. But as we think about all this, another thing, everyone loves their flexible spaces. But if kids are still getting lectured at, and they're still sitting the whole time, and it's teacher-centered, how is it changing to flexible learning, everybody? So as we think about this, and we think about this change, this is Wells Elementary School in Cypress, Texas. I will go as far to say the best example of blended learning that I have ever seen, because they have the test scores to back it up. No homework, because they banned it. Portfolio-based assessment in Seesaw Google Classroom. Bring your own technology K-5, and these kids are scoring 97% proficient or higher across the board. You can see the spaces, everybody. But here's the thing I want you to look at, how the pedagogy has changed. Path, pace, place. Kids learning everywhere. My daughter went here as a 5th grader. I'm actually their job-embedded coach. I've been there with them since the school opened 3 years ago. I've seen it as a consultant, and I've seen it as a parent. Happy kids, high-achieving kids, less stressed kids, kids who can manage their technology better than adults. And I can show you example after example. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Uh-oh. Can you hit something back there? I hit something. Darn technology. There we go. This is a differentiated choice board. You see this? I can't show you all the pictures I have in 30 minutes because I have hundreds. The fires are more difficult. Kids pace themselves. They choose 3 to do tic-tac-toe. It doesn't have to be data, everybody. What I'm showing you is evidence of how schools are changing. But I will warn you, I love Pinterest. But just because it sounds good on Twitter or looks good on Pinterest does not mean it's an effective practice for you, your schools, or your country. And that's the key. No one has all the answers. I can't give you all the answers. I don't know everything. But I will tell you, research, design thinking should guide the work. By the way, there's a lot of research that supports everything that I've briefly talked about up to this point. We could look at the work of Dewey, Bloom, Papert, Vygotsky, Piaget. all this has nothing to do with technology. It's been around for a long time. It's about what we know works. It's about good instruction, what the teacher does, leading to learning, what the kid does. If anyone tells you this stuff is new, they're lying to you. None of this stuff is new. What's new? Research on how the brain works. What's new? All this technology to do what we should be doing better. All right, now I got to go through these other keys really fast because I'm almost out of time. Professional learning. Not just for our kids, professional learning has to be personal. As we think about this, here's what educators want. Educators want voice and choice, relevant for your kids, something you use right away, conducted by people that have actually taught in classrooms and led schools, innovative, creative, makes you better, practical, not just theoretical, speak honest, collaborate, relevant for a long time. Teachers want administrators there. Administrators should want their bosses there. This is just good learning, everybody. But when we think about personal, we think about that personal piece. Where are you on this? Are you I don't do that social media thing? That was me. And I suffered for it. Are you a connected lurker? You're not creepy. Are you a connected lurker where you just watch people behind your screens? That's okay. I was creepy. Collaborative learning. Here's the thing, everybody. If you're here, you can't experience this. This image created by Alec Kuros. What does this tell you? You control your learning. Anytime, anywhere, with anyone you want. I meet people online. And I look around and one of my friends, Steve, wave your hand, Steve. We met online. Does that sound weird? Yeah, but we met online through Twitter. He lives in the UK. I live in the States. We've now met face-to-face at so many events. We have coffee, we drink beers, and we talk about pedagogy. I would never have met him if it wasn't for this. Anywhere, anytime, anywhere you want. You need some ideas? Pick one. Get the support and feedback you want and deserve. Oh, I got 5 minutes. Work smarter, not harder. Share your work. Remove silos. Here's 10 reasons. Pick one. But you have to value it, everybody. I can sit up here for the next couple hours and tell you how I don't need to have all the answers. I need to know where to find the answers. That is the key. Technology can then be used as an accelerant. So, as I go through this really quick, we are teaching the Netflix generation of kids. They don't know what it's like to watch a VHS, to set the DVR. They don't know. They can access information at any time. And when you think about learning in your school, how is technology being used by the kids? How are kids using technology to learn in ways that they couldn't without it? How does technology represent a fundamental improvement over what we've done in the past? Pick. Is it same old, or pathway to unleash genius? I don't know. You need to know. But when integrated with purpose and intent, technology can transform learning just like it transforms lives.
Archer. Hey, buddy. You can hear.
Presentation 101. Always include a video of a cute baby, because if all else fails, people will remember the cute baby. All right, last two. Oh, let me go through this quick. Collaboration with the community. You work hard for kids, everybody. Does your community know how hard you work? Do they understand why innovation is necessary? All right, call it out. Which way the circle's going? Boy, you're a shy group. There's no wrong answers. Well, maybe there is. Okay, since you're not calling it out, I will give you the most common answers. Clockwise, counterclockwise, bzz, follow one. Follow one. Every dot is going back and forth in a straight line. Follow one. Often we see what we want to see, everybody. Sometimes our lens gets in the way. That's the point. And when our lens gets in the way, it clouds our judgment. And we're not ultimately able to see what's possible or redefine what's possible. That's the key. Now, maybe you didn't like the dot little episode, but let me show you another example of what I mean.
You like my sister?
Yeah.
Well, don't. Just give it a second. You'll say it.
Look at my golden hair.
Caught that, didn't I?
Hey, I'll flip for you. Yeah, I'll flip for you. This wall is magical. You can't touch me. My neck.
Every single day, something amazing happens in one of your schools in your country. Every single day. No one works harder for kids than you. No one dedicates more time to kids than all of you. But do people know? The key is, with technology, you have another choice. Will you become the storyteller in chief? Will you share all the great things that you're doing to change the narrative? All right, let me wrap this up. First 7 don't matter. 8, sustainability. How do we sustain change, everybody? How do we make it lasting? How do we go from what the status quo is to create a new status quo? Everything comes down to relationships. I talked about rigor quickly. I talked about relevance. But the third R, relationships, is the foundation. When we think about relationships, it all comes down to it. Without trust, there's no relationship. If there's no relationship, no real learning occurs. Was real learning because you got a good grade? Or was real learning because a teacher inspired, motivated, supported you? Because I can tell you right now, I don't remember the grades that I got. But I remember the teachers that made a difference in my life. And it was because of relationships. And as you think about this, when transforming learning, you better be prepared for anything.
No, I would argue that this is a triumph of democracy. Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. North Korea,
You're part of the solution, everyone. All right, it's 12 o'clock. I'm right on time. But you got to make this happen. Not people like me. You. So as you think about this, I want you to share. There's a hashtag. Don't be a creepy lurker. You can do it on Twitter, Instagram, not Google Plus, that's gone. LinkedIn, whatever. There's your hashtag. Share what you're doing. Share what you learned, but share what you can do differently. By the way, I wrote a book on this. It's all in the handout. It's there. You can get it on Amazon. And as I promised, here's the quick directions. You can either go to the case-sensitive link, scan the code, whichever you choose. There are low-level questions that you fill out, and bam, you get the Google Doc, which is always updated. It's a lot of pages. It's a lot of information to add context to everything that I talked about today. There's my contact information. If you love paper, got postcards, up to you if you want it. Business cards. Thanks for what you do, everybody. Thanks for being here. Keep making a difference, and enjoy the rest of the conference.